I'm outside Windsor Castle, just to the west of London. It is the largest occupied castle in the world, and it's been occupied by the same family now for about 1,000 years. They took their name from the castle. They are the Windsors. They are the British royal family. Now, the Queen uses the castle both as a private home but also for official duties. For example, welcoming foreign heads of state. That's why I'm here. Donald Trump is visiting for his first meeting with the Queen. The two most famous people in the world, arguably, coming together for the very first time. There's a small group of demonstrators outside the castle, which you may hear at some point. Anti-Trump demonstrators campaigning against his immigration policies, also his misogyny, as they're calling it. Overhead as well, you'll also hear some planes coming over because Heathrow Airport is very close indeed. In fact, Prince Philip's favourite joke for visiting dignitaries is when he asks them why they built the castle quite so close to an airport. Anyway, Donald Trump's talked about what a big fan he is of the Queen. Many heads of state and politicians around the world speak in a similar way about her. Elizabeth is the longest serving head of state in the world, but she's also apolitical, and she's revered for the way that she's managed to stay out of politics, away from controversy during her long reign. She's never managed to alienate anyone, and that's why she's looked up to by many people around the world and is so famous. She's connected with so many people effectively. And I speak to that in my book. It's all about clout, and I wanted to read a portion of that to you from outside here at the castle because it came to mind. Here we go. Generally speaking, we have no idea what the Queen thinks, which prompts the question, how does she manage to connect with such a broad audience without ever expressing how she feels? Imagine she's out on a public engagement and is being shown around a new skyscraper. You know she cares enough about the building to accept the invitation, but you don't know whether she likes skyscrapers or not. What you see is someone familiar failing to show any emotion, but our natural instinct is to fill that void with our own way of thinking. So we project our feelings onto her. If you like skyscrapers, you therefore assume that she does too. If you don't, then you sense that she shares the same view. It's like looking into a mirror. She's managing to empathise and connect with you at the same time as everyone else, and that's what gives her such universal appeal. On the occasions she has let herself go in public, a tear at a memorial service for example, she's expressed the majority view, which only adds to her appeal. The Queen's ability to avoid controversy has earned her respect at every level. I was in Normandy, France, with her for the D-Day war commemorations in July 2014 and saw how world leaders deferred to her. She is the longest serving head of state, which brings with it a certain reverence, but there's also a respect there for the way that she's inhabited that position. As the leaders came together for the requisite family photo, a space was reserved for her at the centre of the shot next to host François Hollande. After the picture was taken, President Obama escorted her down the steps as if he were a member of her staff, and President Putin of Russia allowed them to go ahead too. Yes, they were probably both acting on their gentlemanly instincts, but it also felt like an acknowledgement of the Queen's personal status. She's been at the centre of so many conversations for such a long period of time, it's hard to imagine a world without her, and it all adds to her rare cachet. The Queen has been in my life longer than any other person apart from my elder sister, noted actress Helen Mirren, who studied Elizabeth closely for her portrayals of the monarch on stage and on screen. That omnipresence explains why it's so unsettling for people when the Queen doesn't appear when she's expected, such as after Diana's death, or when she missed a regular church appearance on Christmas Day in 2016. All we were told at the time was that she had a cold, but speculation soon mounted that it could be more serious, not helped by a vacuum of information from the palace. When the Queen failed to appear again at the New Year service, newsrooms around the world started deploying teams to Buckingham Palace. It really was just a cold, but the overreaction illustrates the towering presence the Queen has in the public consciousness. Now, monarchy isn't a system anyone would recreate now in a major Western liberal democracy, but people don't seem ready to let go of it either, at home or abroad, or indeed here in Windsor.